Have you ever been at the height of success, only to realize that the ground beneath your feet could crumble at any moment? In the long annals of history, one imposing figure learns this truth in the most unforgettable way. King Nebuchadnezzar, ruler of the most powerful empire of the ancient world, discovers that true power does not lie in the hands of those who sit on golden thrones, but in the hands of a much greater force. In the fabric of biblical history, the account of King Nebuchadnezzar's transformation stands out as a profound narrative about the nature of human pride and divine sovereignty. This story, rooted in the book of Daniel, chapter 4, serves not only as a historical record, but as a timeless lesson about the dangers of arrogance and the redemptive potential of humility before God. Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of one of the most magnificent empires of antiquity, the Babylonian Empire, stood out for his extraordinary power and unparalleled influence. Ruler of a golden age, he not only extended the borders of his empire through strategic military campaigns, but also beautified his capital, Babylon, transforming it into a symbol of wealth and innovation. His architectural ambition is most evidenced by the construction of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. This feat was not just an aesthetic marvel, but also a prodigy of engineering of the time, supposedly created to console his wife, Amytas of Media, who missed the verdant landscapes of her homeland. Although the existence of the Hanging Gardens has never been conclusively proven, through modern archaeological excavations, they remain a testament to what is told of Nebuchadnezzar's grandeur and achievement capability. During his reign, from approximately 605 to 562 BC, Nebuchadnezzar not only consolidated Babylon as the center of the known world through his conquests and monumental buildings, but also imposed a model of administration and governance that ensured his absolute authority. The Babylonian Empire under his leadership was a time of economic prosperity, cultural and artistic advances, and was marked by internal political stability, despite constant external threats. Nebuchadnezzar's authority within his empire was such that he was seen not just as a political and military leader, but also as a nearly divine figure, with powers granted by the Mesopotamian gods. His ability to keep the vast empire unified and expanding is a testament to his political and military skill, as well as his vision for Babylon, which he tirelessly worked to establish as the jewel of the ancient world. At the heart of his powerful reign, King Nebuchadnezzar was disturbed by a dream that robbed him of sleep and left him restless. This dream was not a mere nighttime fantasy. It was a vivid vision that featured a great tree, whose top touched the skies and was visible throughout the world. The majesty of this tree was undeniable, and its size and strength seemed unshakable until a divine command determined it be abruptly cut down. The gravity of this dream left Nebuchadnezzar deeply shaken, as none of his advisors or wise men were able to decipher its meaning. Faced with this enigma, the king turned to Daniel, a Jewish exile whose reputation for interpreting dreams through divine power had come to the monarch's attention. Daniel, known not only for his wisdom but also for his deep connection with his God, was seen as the last hope to understand the disturbing nocturnal vision. When Daniel was presented with the king's dream, he initially hesitated. Daniel's reluctance was notable, as he knew that the interpretation he brought could be devastating for the king. With reverence and caution, Daniel explained that the great tree symbolized Nebuchadnezzar himself, representing his expansive empire and his dominant personal stature. However, the most alarming aspect of the dream was not the grandeur of the tree, but the heavenly decree to cut it down, a clear symbol of divine judgment directed against the king's pride. Daniel proceeded with the interpretation, warning that the king would be removed from his human context and forced to live a wild existence among the beasts of the field. This drastic change would be a reflection of divine punishment, a humiliation designed to expose the vulnerability and haughtiness of Nebuchadnezzar. The king, according to Daniel, would have to graze grass like the oxen, a powerful image of degradation, until he recognized a fundamental truth. The Most High God holds sovereignty over all the kingdoms of the earth and has the prerogative to bestow them upon whomever he desires. A year after his mysterious dream, Nebuchadnezzar found himself on the terrace of his grand royal palace in Babylon. It was a clear day, and the view encompassed the vastness of his magnificent city, shining buildings under the sun, lush gardens stretching around, and the bustling streets of the city below formed the backdrop of an empire at the peak of its power. In a moment of profound contemplation, the king, filled with a sense of personal achievement and pride, exclaimed, "Is not this the great Babylon, which I have built by my mighty power as a royal residence and for the glory of my majesty?" Nebuchadnezzar's words resonated not just through the air, but seemed to reach the very heavens. However, these words of self-exaltation were not met with the usual silence. Almost immediately, a thunderous voice from heaven was heard, declaring that the time of his judgment had arrived, fulfilling the decree revealed in Nebuchadnezzar's dream. This divine decree was not a simple verbal reprimand. It was a sentence that would transform his existence in a drastic and humiliating way. As the heavenly voice announced, Nebuchadnezzar was immediately removed from human society. His understanding and cognitive ability were obscured, and he was compelled to leave his palace to live among the field beasts. The Bible describes that his heart became like that of a beast. He lost all human dignity and rationality, starting to act and feed like a wild animal. This radical change served not just as a punishment, but as a visceral lesson on the transience of human power and the absolute sovereignty of God. During this period of trials, Nebuchadnezzar lived isolated from his kingdom and any human contact. His garments became worn, and his body was covered by the dew of heaven. He ate grass like the oxen, and his hair grew like the feathers of eagles, while his nails resembled the claws of birds. This phase of his life was a time of purification and transformation, where pride and arrogance gave way to reconnection with the humble essence of his existence. The transformation of Nebuchadnezzar into an animal serves as a powerful allegory for the blinding nature of pride. Pride, at its core, distorts reality, positioning the self at the center of the universe and relegating all other concerns, including the divine, to the periphery. Nebuchadnezzar's pride blinded him to the true source of his power and success. In his arrogance, he had attributed his achievements to his own strength and wisdom, failing to recognize that all authority on earth is established by a higher power. The narrative, however, does not end in despair. After 7 periods of time, likely years, Nebuchadnezzar raised his eyes to heaven, and his reason was returned to him. He blessed the Most High and praised and honored him who lives forever. This act of humility and recognition of God's sovereignty was the turning point for Nebuchadnezzar. His honor and splendor were restored, and he returned to his throne, a changed man. In his own words, Nebuchadnezzar declared, "Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise, exalt, and honor the King of heavens, for all his acts are true and his ways are just, and those who walk in pride he is able to humble." Daniel 4:37. The story of Nebuchadnezzar is much more than a historical account. It is a tale of warning that resonates through the ages. It serves as a reminder that true greatness is not in worldly power or achievements, but in humility and the recognition of God's sovereignty over everything. Pride, as justified as it may seem, leads to downfall, while humility leads to restoration and true honor. In a world where achievements and success are often measured by material wealth and social status, the story of Nebuchadnezzar challenges us to reflect on the source of our blessings and the temptation to attribute them solely to our efforts. It calls us to recognize the divine hand in our lives, reminding us that God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. James 4:6. The transformation of King Nebuchadnezzar from an immensely proud ruler to a figure of humility underscores a fundamental truth. All power, glory, and authority belong to God and God alone.